Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. And before starting up with the first story, I'd like to ask you to consider giving a like to the video if you do enjoy it. Now let's get started with that story. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Deleted. My 30 female friend, 31 female, hasn't lived a full adult life and is getting reliant on me in overcoming this. I don't want to do this for her. My friend Kath struggles with anxiety and other issues from a troubled home. She still shares a room with her mother, despite living in a wealthy family home, and gives her mother half of her paycheck. Her mother has conditioned Kath to believe that she owes her mother for life because her mother is estranged from the rest of her family. Kath has never dated or had a boyfriend and routinely falls for male acquaintances who are friendly with her. She misunderstands their friendliness, e.g., thinks that one-on-one conversations or dinners indicate romantic interest, and gets angry when they inevitably date other people. This has soured at least 2 relationships in our friend circle when the guy tells someone else that Kath has been behaving oddly, e.g., asking him several invasive questions every day for weeks, even after being let down gently and not receiving replies. Aside from all this, Kath is the nicest, most intelligent, funniest person I know. She has a gentle and kind soul and an inquisitive mind. But when dealing with her own issues, she suddenly regresses and becomes very stubborn and childlike, insisting that her way is best. Despite knowing Kath for half of our lives, I discovered most of this recently. I too come from an abusive home, but have gone to therapy for a decade and learned to set boundaries with my family. I'm quite unrelenting and determined to live my life for myself, and I have shared my experiences with Kath. Recently, Kath had decided that she wants to shuck off her family and become independent. She's pursuing post-grad studies to try and work on her career for the first time and says she wants to build boundaries. She's also talking about meeting someone to date someday. The thing is, Kath keeps trying to run her decisions by me for validation, even when she's making terrible ones. I've told her she needs therapy and even offered to pay for it, but she says it wastes time. She's been very rude to even the well-meaning, non-toxic members of her family in building boundaries. She just tells them all to F off and seeks approval from me in doing so. She insists she can't change her relationship with her mother. She refuses to accept that she mistakes friendly behavior for romantic interest. She has even flat out lied to us several times, saying she isn't texting or interested in the guy. She asks questions about our relationships and male friends, and then applies our answers to her pursuit of the guy and gets upset when it doesn't work out. This last really angers me, but she doesn't get it. I really do like her for her kindness and intelligence, but it's time for me to draw boundaries with her. How can I communicate to her that I don't want to validate her choices and would appreciate her being more flexible and receptive if she's going to ask me anything? I do not want to be unsupportive or isolate her, especially as I'm the only friend in her life now. But I don't want to be her therapist or mother. She needs to grow up and make her own decisions like we all have. And I know that she's absolutely resistant to therapy and is going to take me telling her this as a huge rejection.
So you don't even want to help me?
And I'm really evaluating if this is worth risking the friendship dying. Well, it'll be, in my opinion, your friend if you really still want to call her that, because she's just using you at this point, really does need some help, and if she doesn't want to listen to you, well, then she's gonna need to find out on her own. Next time she asks you for anything, you tell her, you know what, this is your life, you need to live it on your own. I'm not gonna tell you anything, and you stick to that. Now, another more gentler way to go about the same thing would be that next time she asks for your opinion, you give her your opinion, and when she doesn't do what you are telling her that she should do, or the best way to solve her problem, or she actually dismisses what you're saying because whatever, then you tell her, why are you asking for my opinion if you're gonna behave this way? Please Don't ask for my opinion anymore because I'm not in the habit of wasting my time trying to help you out for you to just dismiss it. My guess is that she has some sort of victim mentality and she keeps making this drama around her life and everything is complicated and everything is stressful and she needs your help, but she doesn't really want your help. She just wants to be the center of attention. And in a very weird way, she wants to be the center of your attention. And in my opinion, that's not how friends behave. So I would say this is the way you draw the boundary and then you cut her off. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? How would you try to go about setting a boundary with this kind of friend? Would you want to keep this friend? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Roar Jauren says, Kath, you know I appreciate your friendship, but I don't think you need to run all of your decisions by me. I'm flattered that you respect my opinion, but it's time for you to start making your own choices. If you don't think you can do this, then maybe you should start talking to a therapist or counselor, as they would be able to help you a lot more than I can. She's 31. She can make her own decisions. You should be upfront and honest with her, and like you said, set boundaries. That doesn't make you a bad friend, it just means you're helping her become a more self-reliant person. If she doesn't do it now, she never will. Shelf Life Inc. says, you describe Kath as kind, gentle, intelligent, inquisitive, the nicest person you know, then give multiple examples of how she's none of these things. A nice person wouldn't tell well-meaning family members to F off. An inquisitive person wouldn't dismiss therapy as a waste of time. A kind person wouldn't harass someone with invasive questions. An intelligent person wouldn't try to apply your techniques to her own pursuit of a guy, like some kid who doesn't bother studying for a test and chooses instead to just copy the answers. Before you ask the question, how can I handle Kath in a way that doesn't anger her? I think you need to ask yourself, why have I convinced myself that Kath is a great person when she really isn't? It's not Kath's fault that she grew up isolated and abused. It is her fault she's refusing to develop as a person and is instead trying to get some kind of cheat sheet for life out of you. Angie says, if she's lived as sheltered a life as you say she has, you're going to be playing the roles of friend, therapist, and parent for as long as you're her only friend. Therapy is 100% necessary if she wants to make strides in her own life. If I were you, I would encourage her to expand her social circle by attending meetups or participating in school activities. Being around more people will take some of the pressure off of you and will also give her more chances to observe how other people function. I would also stop giving her feedback on whatever decisions she's running by you. Part of growing up is learning from the choices you make. You can still listen to her and be supportive, but you may want to withhold your opinions and just let her figure it out for herself. Additional information from OP's comments. Kath unintentionally makes me mad, and that's very helpful to me in resolving my feelings about her. I've tried telling her that I'm not her therapist, but she insists on receiving a response just from my perspective, and when I continue to refuse, she gets agitated or self-pitying.
I guess it's my own problem and I'm on my own.
I think that what I've learned from this thread is that maybe I have to answer that with, yes, you are. Also, my offer was to pay for a month of therapy to get her to try it out and hopefully buy into the idea of therapy. A couple of friends and I, all therapy veterans, agreed to split it after the first humiliation with a guy from our circle. Kath was offended. She said we were piling more work on her in an already stressful time. I am going to work on being uninvested in her behavior, primarily through reduced engagement. But I worry that she will feel that I have abandoned her while she's getting hurt and humiliated, especially as she is emotionally immature. My mother is also very manipulative, and when I was a child, she often threatened self-harm to get her way. We get along okay now that I'm very firm with my boundaries, but it still hurts me every time she gets in a fit. And I wish so much that I did not have to reparent myself through my whole adult life. Kath knows a lot of my life story, but because of her emotional immaturity, she somehow seems to feel she has it more challenging because I'm more attractive or successful. Her words. This is not at all true. She's great, but she's very sunk in the idea that she's disadvantaged compared to others, that this disadvantage is unsurmountable, and that just cutting her mother off will solve everything. I plan on having a firm talk with Kath at some point. She reminds me of an angsty teenager and I feel bad for her, but I resent being her emotional garbage dump. I'm going to disengage from her decisions, which will come across as me withdrawing from her and which will compromise the friendship, I think. But I feel it can't be helped. Alright, well, the community definitely gave OP things to think about, and apparently it clicked with OP because she's definitely gonna take action. So let's move on to the update to see how that went. But of course, if you're enjoying the story, please let me encourage you to click that like button. It really does help me out. Now let's continue with the update. Thanks everyone for your responses. They were very enlightening and helped me process a lot of what I had to do. Unfortunately, I lost my temper with Kath and I could have handled it better, but I did manage to use most of everyone's advice. So, Kath was texting me like I was what one commenter called an emotional garbage dump, about how she felt old and how younger people around her had so much more to offer. This was an excellent opportunity for me to put into practice everyone's suggestions about diverting her, etc. And I did this very diligently. Predictably, she called me out on it and said I must be mad because she had been such a burden and that she would leave me alone and stop bothering me with her problems since she was such a chore. I laid down the speech suggested in the comments about how I really did care but couldn't be her therapist and that this would help her make her own decisions. She then said that she agreed she had been wallowing, that she had wasted all these years and that she had not done enough to help herself, that she was old and a waste, didn't blame me for not wanting to help, etc. At this, I lost my temper, sorry, and said that this was an example of unhealthy self-talk that I shouldn't have to fix for her. Kath said that, at the very least, I could respond with advice when she asked for it instead of ignoring her this way. I responded there was no point in giving her advice because she didn't follow it, especially regarding the last guy she fell for. Since we had it out, I also said I felt uncomfortable that she lied to me about her interest in him and misappropriated things I had said to apply to her pursuit of him. E.g., she asked me about my relationship with my male friends or boyfriend and applied what I said out of context to pursuing the guy she liked without me ever knowing she was interested in him. I reminded her that I had said all this to her twice before without her ever responding to it, and that I had also told her I didn't like the fact that she had been routinely cancelling on me to supposedly study with him when actually she had been cancelling on me to pursue him. In Kath's view, she kept all this from me because she didn't like being teased about a friend of mine who had expressed interest in her. The age must be wrong. This woman cannot be 31 years old. She responded to all of this by saying that she was sorry I felt that way, but the guy she had liked was closest to her in her post-grad class, so he was more important. She then went on to say that she was tired and could we wrap this up, as she had a class from 8 AM that day. I'm not leaving anything out from her responses. This is everything she had to say in response to me. This really angered me. I cut short the conversation and pointed out to her that when she called me crying at midnight the previous week, I had worked a 15-hour day that started at 7 AM and was ill, and yet I heard her out even though her issues were unrelated to me. In contrast, when we were discussing our friendship, she couldn't be bothered to listen. I wished her the best and blocked her. I think the timeout is good, and everyone was right in their own way. Kath is emotionally underdeveloped, can be kind, can be entitled, but isn't going to change until she gets professional help. And like everyone said, being on her own is really the best thing for her because she has to make her own decisions. It's the best thing for me too because I think she's behaved in a very selfish and at times dishonest manner. Our other friends are unsurprised by this. They've cut off contact with her long ago. I'm sorry to everyone that I lost my temper with her. I wish I could just have kept on with your advice and maybe she would have taken the hint at some point, but I do think I've gotten an assessment of my value to Kath. As sad and hurt as I am that I've lost an old dear friend, I hope this is right for both of us. Oh, OP, I think you're either too nice or I'm a bad guy, because I don't really think Kath is your friend. She was just using you. And the moment that you actually wanted to talk about your friendship, she wanted to cut you short because you were not serving her interests. I don't think this should be a timeout. This should be a no contact until she comes back to you and apologizes and actually changes her behavior. So really, OP, I think you've done right. You set really hard boundaries, and hopefully this will actually make her reflect on her behavior. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Cuboid Homonym. Karen wants whack. This happened to me about 2 years ago, but a former coworker just reminded me about it and I'm pretty sure it counts as malicious compliance. I'll try and keep it short, but it is a little long. I used to be a service manager at one of the biggest locations of a popular Mexican grill. I won't say which, but the wok was $1.95 extra, and we were required to ask everyone if they were okay paying that price. One Sunday morning, our second busiest shift of the week, 2 of my line people called out, so we were struggling to get all of our prep done before opening at 11. We are just wrapping up when Karen comes 10 minutes before opening through the side door marked employees only with 15 preteen girls in tow. My cook recognizes her as she regularly comes in during the dinner shift and is extremely abusive and cruel to all the Latino workers. Karen tells me they can order whatever they want, throws her credit card at me and goes to sit down at the table and diddle on her phone. Now, I can't ring up her order without her standing there because of the company rules, and I am 30 weeks pregnant and just want to take my break. I prego-waddled over to Karen's table to try and inform her of that when she literally flicked her hand at me and dismissed me. Not only have I been at the store since 7 and do 2 different people's jobs on top of my own, but I also have my son's head grinding against my pelvic bones and kicking me like crazy. I am in no mood. When I try to tell her again, she looks at me with what I can only describe as seething contempt and says, "What part of they can get whatever they want did you not understand? I don't care what you charge me as long as I get a receipt. Don't interrupt me again or I'll get your fat ass fired." Now, I never cry, but that almost got me. Motherhood is awesome, but pregnancy sucks. I finally managed to pick my jaw off from the ground and stammer, "Alright ma'am, I'll ring up whatever they want and bring you a receipt." The girls were really nice and most of them ordered double meat and they all got bottled water and chips and wok. Every last one. My cashier and I are just vibrating with glee as we ring them up and watch the bill climb to about $250. I brought the bill to Karen and was pretty excited when she didn't immediately check it. I made my own food and told the cook to get me when the show started. I'm halfway done eating when I see him waving to the camera, howling with laughter. So I head up. Karen is foaming at the mouth, screaming for the manager, and when she sees that the manager is me, she literally grinds her teeth and slaps her receipt on the table. She manages to choke out the word refund. The girls had all pretty much finished their food, so I informed her that I wouldn't be doing that because I would lose my job for giving away that much critical inventory, meat, wok, cheese, for free. Then I gently reminded her that she told me twice that they could get anything as long as she got a receipt. She just keeps demanding a refund and calling me stupid and fat. Again, pregnant. At this point, her screaming is holding up the very long line and customers are shouting at her to just leave. That's when she pushed me effing hard. My cashier caught me, so I didn't fall down, but 2 of our regulars, who are police, saw it and immediately cuffed her. In this state, any use of physical force against a pregnant woman is classified as aggravated battery or something like that. I felt bad for the kids and I was fine, so I kept telling them that I didn't want to press charges, but they said that at that point it didn't matter because the woman had done it in front of on-duty officers, so she got arrested. They had to call the kids' parents to get them because she was their church's youth leader and get statements. My general manager came in and let me go home with a full day's pay. She tried to take the case to trial, but they had video and likely 20 witness statements, so she ended up taking a couple of years probation or something, all because I did exactly what she told me to. Opie's edit. She was banned. My old general manager had actually asked her not to come back more than once, but we asked the other managers and our sister's store, which she had also been asked not to return to, across town and figured she kept coming during different shifts and alternating stores, so none of us realized until this. I personally had a temporary restraining order against her and worked at both stores, so she was truly banned, lol. Well, OP, you were just serving her as she asked you to, and nicely done to those 2 police officers for stepping right up and doing what needed to be done. Thank you so much for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.